My friends, we've been learning all about plants. Today you're going to hear a make-believe story. That's a pretend story, not real. It's about a little tiny girl who grows out of a plant. We're going to hear about different kinds of plants and their parts when we listen to this story. But first, I want to show you some words we're going to learn in this story. My friends, can you say floated? Floated means stayed on top of the water, like the boat floated down the river. Can you say underground? Underground means below the ground. Ants build their homes in the underground tunnels. Roots grow underground. Can you say crown? Crown is a shiny thing with jewels that kings and queens wear on their heads. A golden crown was placed on the prince's head to make him the new king. And my friends say beautiful. Beautiful means very, very pretty. Like the white gown looked beautiful on the princess. Let's listen to our make-believe story about the tiny girl growing out of the plant. In the story, a woman plants a seed and a flower grows from the seed. Can you show us the stem? Do you see the leaves? And where is the bud or the petals of the flower? Good job, friends. We know that a plant grows from a seed. The woman planted a seed and this flower grew. Now we see another plant. This plant is called a water lily. This plant grows in the water and it has a long stem. We can see it right here that goes down to the bottom of the pond and it keeps it from floating away. One part of our story, this little girl is going to live on top of a water lily leaf. Do you think she could really live on top of this leaf in the water? No. That's why this story is make-believe. It's not real. Now today we're going to learn about Thumbelina. This is Thumbelina. The title of our story today is Thumbelina. I want you to listen to our story and find out what characters helped her. Thumbelina. Once upon a time, there was a woman who was sad because she had no children. Seeing her unhappiness, a neighbor gave her a magical seed. The neighbor told the woman to plant the seed in a flower pot. That evening, the woman planted the seed, and the next morning, she noticed that a plant had grown in the pot overnight. My friends, do you think a seed could grow into a plant in just one night? I don't think so. The plant had a flower like a tulip, but it was closed up tight into a bud. What a beautiful plant, said the woman, and she kissed the flower. When she did, the petals opened wide, and there in the middle of the flower sat a tiny girl, no bigger than a thumb. Hold up your thumb. That's how big she was. I will call you Thumbelina, said the woman. Thumbelina lived a happy life with the woman. My friends, do you hear that word thumb when we say Thumbelina? Thumbelina. Can you clap Thumbelina? Thumbelina. At night, She slept in a polished walnut shell. During the day, she sailed about in a saucer. That's a little bowl. A saucer of water with the tulip leaf as her boat. Then one night, everything changed. A mother toad, that's a mommy frog, hopped through a broken window in the house, and she landed right beside sleeping Thumbelina. "What a beautiful wife she would make for my toad son!" exclaimed the mother. So she picked up the sleeping Thumbelina and carried her into the garden. "Do you think Thumbelina wants to marry a frog?" There she told her son of her plans. "While we prepare for the wedding, we will place her on a water lily leaf in the river. That way she cannot escape." "She can't get away," said the mother. When Thumbelina woke up the next morning, she realized she was no longer in her cozy bed. She began to cry. The mother toad and her son ignored her tears and they continued with their plans. My friends, how does Thumbelina feel? But Thumbelina's cries had not gone unheard. The little fish in the river felt sorry for her. They nibbled and took small bites at the lily pad stem until the leaf broke free from its roots. The leaf floated down the river, carrying Thumbelina with it. Thumbelina floated along. It was summertime, so she ate wild berries for food. She listened to the birds chirping, and she admired all the butterflies. Who's helping her in this picture? Pause here and tell us. Before long, summer came to an end and the weather grew colder, and soon there were no more berries for food. The birds and butterflies disappeared, and one day snow started to fall. Thumbelina had to curl up under a mushroom. How do you think Thumbelina feels? Not far away, a mouse was gathering wood for her fireplace, and she saw Thumbelina. She said, "My poor dear, you must come home with me." Why did the mouse invite Thumbelina to her house? Pause here and tell us. Thumbelina gratefully accepted the mouse's invitation. She spent the rest of the winter in the mouse's burrow and her home. Every day, Thumbelina helped the mouse with her housework. When they were done, they sat and chatted in front of the fire, and they became friends. Now the mouse had a wealthy, rich neighbor called Mr. Mole. Mr. Mole became a visitor at the mouse's home. One evening, Mr. Mole invited Thumbelina and the mouse to come to his house. They accepted his invitation and followed him down a hole into an underground passageway, into an underground tunnel. As they moved along the tunnel, they passed an injured bird lying still. "Don't pay attention," said Mr. Mole. "This bird has a broken wing, and somehow he found his way into my tunnel. Nothing can be done to help him." With that, the mole and the mouse hurried on, but Thumbelina did not. She was worried about the hurt bird, so she stayed and stroked his feathers. Why do you think Thumbelina stopped to pet the bird? Pause here and tell us. Suddenly, the bird moved. Thumbelina promised the bird that she would return with food, and for the rest of the winter, that's what she did. When spring arrived, the bird felt well enough to fly away, and he asked Thumbelina to come with him, but she said no. She could not leave her friend the mouse. The spring and summer passed. It became clear that Mr. Mole wanted to marry Thumbelina. Thumbelina did not like Mr. Mole at all. She did not want to marry him, but her friend the mouse thought that Thumbelina should marry Mr. Mole. So she started to make plans for their wedding. One day, Thumbelina sat quietly, crying. In the autumn sunshine, a dark shadow appeared. It was the bird. Thumbelina, said the bird, I'm flying south to warmer places. Come with me. This time, Thumbelina agreed. She climbed up on the bird's back and off they went. Why do you think Thumbelina went with the bird this time? Because last time she told him no. Why did she go this time? Pause here and tell us. They flew for many days. Finally, the bird landed in a lovely little spot filled with flowers. Thumbelina looked at the flower next to her. She watched the petals slowly open, and there in the middle of the flower sat a little man with a golden crown. There's his golden crown. He was the same tiny size as Thumbelina. My friend, who else wears crowns? Queens and kings? Good job. Thumbelina watched in amazement as all of the other flowers opened, and each flower had its own tiny little person inside. The little man with the crown said, Welcome, Thumbelina. You found a new home at last. Here you shall be my queen. He placed a tiny golden crown on Thumbelina's head. He fastened a pair of pale wings to her shoulders. And so Thumbelina and the king got married and lived happily ever after in the land of flowers and the land of fairies. What do you think will happen next? The end.